Hello there. Welcome to our little trans-dimensional joyride, folks.
Well, guys, what do you expect me to do? Send them all with you?
Wait a minute. I love that idea.
Imagination works the best when it's set free.
You said it, Doc! Imagination is a blast!
Are you about ready?
Yes, it's a glorious 3-hour finale.
You got a minute and a half.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another movie review of the Sounds of the Monorail podcast. Today we are reviewing The Lion King 2019.
Not the old one. Although these reviews could be pretty interchangeable.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, just going ahead and diving into it, these were like basically identical to me.
Yeah. Like
they didn't do like any changes.
They added a couple additional scenes, nothing too crazy. But by the way, before we get real into it, this will be like full spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wanna
Definitely.
Yeah. But I know like one scene in particular was how Scar was, trying to get on with what's her name? Mufasa's wife?
Yeah. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, but he was trying to be like, get with me, and Mufasa's dead. Like, get over it. And that was like an original deleted scene, like from the original.
Oh, really?
Movie. Yeah. So I thought that was cool that they brought that back. So they added some things, but not enough to make it a completely different movie. It was nearly shot for shot remake, like frame by frame. Even.
Yeah, for real. I there was different lines sometimes, but even the lines were like very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So like Aladdin, for example, it was pretty much the same, but they did some different
They did
things.
their own thing.
Yeah, but this one
part.
was pretty much shot for shot. You're just watching The Lion King live action. So.
Yeah. So in the end, it kind of depends on how you want your remakes. Like do you want your remake shot for shot, pretty much the same movie, or do you want your remake to tell kind of a different story, kind of like Maleficent, or do you want your remake to be the same but have a few changes like Aladdin? So
Yeah.
they're kind of covering their bases right now with all their live action adaptations, and we're gonna call it live action. I mean, I know it's not really, but I'd rather say live action Lion King than pretty realistic looking animals, but actually CGI Lion King. It's not live action, like it's CGI, but
Yeah, I
live
want to
action's
know.
easier.
I want to know too if like everything's CGI or like just the animals are CGI. Because if it's shot like in a live area, I mean, I couldn't tell.
I want to say it was shot in a live area. It was pretty good.
Because that seems like it would be pretty crazy to CGI everything.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
see like definitely, obviously some shots are CGI'd, with something stepping in the puddle or whatever. Like that's, for the most part CGI, I would imagine.
I could see on location like that's not actually CGI. I could believe it,
Yeah, that's always
But
been
it's
my
not, yeah.
argument against the whole like this is animation, not live actions. Because I was like, well,
It's a mix of both.
Is it all animation? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That'd be like interesting to actually find out.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll behind the scenes on the DVD give us some insight into the filming process. That could be really interesting.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I figure we can just start at the beginning of the movie here.
Okay.
So what were your thoughts? Like beginning of the movie, circle of life, all that jazz.
So like the entire first 5 minutes of the movie was the biggest culprit for frame by frame remake of this movie. It was like I kind of want to watch a like side by side comparison to the animated and the original, because it was weird seeing shots and being like, I know I've seen that before,
Yeah.
So but yeah, it was good. Like I think the biggest thing about this movie is that it's a good movie. It's going to be a good story, because the original was a good movie and a good story, and it's just essentially copying and pasting that same formula.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good movie because it's The Lion King. I guess what it comes down to is whether you appreciate that they changed the animation process so much, and if you appreciate a different view of how they made the movie, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like, when I first started watching this scene at the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, so it looks great. Like, it looked good to me.
It's super pretty. Very pretty movie.
I mean, there was a lot more movement from all these animals together. Like, I mean, obviously, it's, like, unrealistic in the sense that, like, there are elephants, giraffes, and, like, lions. They're all gathering, but, like, it looked real. Like, I don't know. I thought it was cool, and I really appreciated how much effort went into creating this stuff. So that was definitely my, like, thought process pretty much throughout the entire movie was like, well, did this need to be to be made to happen? I don't know if it really needed to, but
right, it definitely didn't.
But I appreciated the effort that went into it, and it is cool to see. Part of me when I was watching this was like, oh, this kind of feels like a fan-made thing. like I could see this being like a YouTube video, kind of like those like YouTube videos where it's like Toy Story but with actual toys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They make like a stop motion film with the toys.
It, like, I feel like they could have taken like a small scene of this, and like this could have been like I mean, obviously not as well done as this movie was, but like a college project or something where they like took the voice clips and like tried to like animate it to like a lion or something. You know what I mean?
The problem comes when you have the baboon lift up a lion over a cliff. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough shot to find.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when the CGI comes in.
Yeah, I mean, and I want to preface this by saying this is not a college-made movie.
Oh yeah,
I'm not saying that at all, because this movie looked great, but that's just what I kind of felt like. It just felt kind of weird at the beginning. Like, I was like, I don't know.
I see what you mean.
I think a lot of it came with a lot of people's criticisms of this movie is that animals are tough to emote.
Yeah, that's my number one problem with this movie.
I think it's really mostly my only problem with the movie, but it was like a big distracting problem for me, especially for the first half of the movie. Voice acting just didn't feel like it matched what the characters were doing, you know? So like the only times I felt like it matched were when somebody was scared. Then I kind of felt like, okay, I can kind of, I see the voice acting like meshing with the animal. But other than that, like happiness, laughter, especially laughter, I just could not believe
Sadness,
it at all.
I couldn't see at all. Like the scene after Mufasa died, and Simba is like, you know, on the verge of tears saying, yeah, Dad, get up, Dad. And then you see Simba's face and like his voice is coming out full of, you know, tears. Like his voice sounds like he's crying, but I just couldn't believe it looking at this lion. It just didn't match up with me at all, and that was very distracting. And I think that just kind of speaks for the whole movie and how the characters looked when talking or singing, especially. I had a huge problem with the singing. Like when anytime the animals were trying to sing, especially the lions, it would just look really off for me. Like, I mean,
yeah, it definitely took some getting used to. Like, one thing they did with Mufasa's death and Simba that I actually did feel like some emotion there was they like cut away from Simba. Like, so when Mufasa died, Simba came around and then he was like, help me, help me, everybody, I can't, you know, whatever. And it like camera like pans out so you don't see him. So all you're hearing is this kid that just had his dad die and he's like freaking out. And that was one part I really liked this voice actor doing, and I actually related to young Simba. Whereas pretty much the rest of the movie, I hated young Simba. I thought he was annoying. I don't know why. His like voice never matched for me, and I just thought his voice was annoying for some reason.
Yeah, I did enjoy the original voice actor a lot more than this one.
Yeah. So but I thought that they did it well enough for me to feel some emotion there, especially for Simba. Like when he's watching Mufasa climb, I'm just like, oh, my heart. Yeah. Because you know what's going to happen.
I remember I was watching that and I was like, oh, it's a remake, so maybe this version they won't kill Mufasa.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I am not gonna lie. I had some tears.
Oh,
I was
did you?
trying to hold it together.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I managed to hold it together pretty well.
Yeah.
I like cry during movies a lot though.
I occasionally do. I'm not super often though.
I don't like cry. It's usually just a single tear.
Yeah.
So this one did get the single tear, but that was it. But I had to hold it together, be strong. But yeah, I thought they did that well. I thought they kept the emotion of the movie intact for the most part.
Oh yeah, I'd say so.
I mean, like we said, the only issue was the animals not really looking like they had the emotions that they did in the animated one.
Yeah.
But I felt for him still. So yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the voice actors, though, in my opinion, one of the biggest differences in this movie from the last was no Jeremy Irons for Scar.
Yeah.
What did you think of this guy, this new Scar?
Okay, so I'm just gonna give my opinion on Scar altogether in this movie.
Okay.
Because Scar was really weird for me at first. At first, I was like, I don't know if he works. He seems a little off to me, and it's probably just my brain being programmed from, watching the animated one so much.
Right.
But by the end, I really liked him, actually. I felt like he came to form, especially in the end fight scene, the climax. But at the beginning, I was like, I don't know. They're kind of he feels a little too safe. Whereas like Jeremy Irons was much more animated with his voice acting than this guy is, for sure. I'm not even really sure who the voice actor is for this one.
Yeah, I didn't look it up.
But yeah. But by the end, I felt like they really did a good job with him. I thought he seemed threatening. He seemed conniving, scary. Like I thought he seemed smart. So I liked him by the end. But at the beginning, it was a little bit of a trudge to get there, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like, and I don't know if this is gonna make too much sense, but I feel like the whole him being conniving and his planning, I feel like that just came through more through his actions and less of his voice. I feel like the original voice actor provided that sense of scheming a lot more than this one did.
Yeah,
I think we just have that idea that Scar is scheming and conniving because of the original voice actor plus the actions he made, which this one kept those actions. But I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but like I feel like I feel like the new voice actors just didn't have that same sense of scheming, meticulous planning.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like he kind of was flat a little bit throughout most of the movie. I actually did think he did a good job at the end.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I felt
like the end fight, you mean?
Yeah,
I thought that was fine.
Like I thought he was like, faking again to Simba, like all of his lies.
I did like that part a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job portraying that. So I don't know.
Oh, one line, and I'm probably not gonna say there's a whole lot for this movie, but there's one line in this movie I liked a lot more than the original, and they changed it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And since we're on the topic of Scar, it was in this movie. The line is, "I would never dream of challenging you again." And the original is just, "I would never dream of challenging you."
Yeah,
And
I did notice that.
That is such a slight change, but that just tells a whole new story.
You're saying you liked it, or you
I
did not?
love that change.
Oh, okay.
Because the original, I could be wrong. I probably should have double checked. But in the original, I believe it was just Mufasa grabbed him and was like, "Is that a challenge?" And then Scar's like, "Oh, please, I would never dream of challenging you." In this version, he's like, "Oh, please, I would never dream of challenging you again." Doesn't that say so much?
Yeah.
Like there's like that one word suddenly just creates a lot of history between those two characters.
Yeah.
No longer are we wondering how Scar got that scar. Like it must have been Mufasa, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, at least you can assume that.
Why? I mean, to me, like I always wondered, like, man, their parents sucked. I mean, one lion Mufasa, which is like Swahili for king, and the other one Scar. because of his like facial deformity or whatever.
Yeah.
In this movie, like I now assume his name's Scar because he lost this fight. Now everyone calls him Scar in kind of a mocking sense.
Yeah.
Because Mufasa kept him alive and he lost this challenge. Like, kind of sorry for that tangent, but that was like this one line in this movie I loved. Because like all of a sudden, like that one word gave me an idea for why he has a scar, why his name's Scar, and why he has this hatred towards his brother.
Yeah, and like let's be real, they're not very nice to Scar.
No,
like
yeah.
I mean, when I was watching the movie, I felt like this more than I did in the animated one. Like they were like a little bit mean to him in a way. So it's like I felt like it was believable for Scar to do what he did. Oh. Did you like the change with him and the hyenas?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah, so basically in this one, he goes to the hyenas and is not necessarily their friend at first. Because in the original, in the animated one, he was like their pal. Like they knew Scar.
Yeah.
Like Scar came in and is like, oh. Like the hyenas were just like, oh yeah, it's just Scar. Like, why are we worried? I thought it was Mufasa. But this one, they didn't know him before. And to be honest, I didn't like that quite as much. For some reason, I liked the idea of Scar like palling around with these guys because he felt more fit there. He enjoyed himself more there, or at least he didn't feel good with the other ones, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't a big deal. I didn't really care that much, but it was just a slight change that I didn't like as much. What I did like more was Shinzi. I actually really liked
so
Shinzi.
Cool. In the original, the three hyenas were very much comic relief. They obviously still had this kind of like frightening presence with them, especially when Simba and Nala are cubs. But in this version, Shinzi is like super rad. You know, like all of a sudden these three characters go from kind of like these little scoundrels, like comic relief in the original, to kind of a much more threatening presence in this version. So that was a change I actually really liked as well. Because that was a character I never really cared about before. Shinzi, even Ed and Bonsai. I mean, Ed and Bonsai I kind of liked, but Shinzi I really didn't care for.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Like the elephant graveyard, for example, was a scene that I really liked in this one. It might even be my favorite scene in the entire movie. Yeah, because I really liked what they did with the hyenas. Like Simba and Nala come in and they're doing their thing at the elephant graveyard. You see a hyena, just one. You see, all of a sudden there's like a bunch of them, and you feel like the scaredness, and they seem threatening. Mm-hmm. Where in like the original, they seem threatening in the original as well, but I don't know. I felt like more sense of dread here. Like they felt more vicious in this one to me.
Yeah,
probably because they're real animals, but. I just really liked it. I thought they made the hyenas like threatening, fearsome, and funny. Like they were able to keep like the funniness of them with Bonsai and Ed, while having all the coolness with the hyenas, making them scary and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then of course like Mufasa coming in and like just laying waste to all the hyenas was super dope. I really liked it. So yeah, I think that was probably my favorite scene actually. Just the new introduction of these hyenas compared to what I had in my head as for these guys. Yeah, I thought it was super cool.
Gotcha. Yeah, like now that we're talking about it, I'm finding a lot of things I like in this movie, like possibly even a little bit more than the original. I think the biggest thing, going back to it, is just how the characters are animated, whether when talking, showing emotion, and singing. Yeah, those three things are huge in a movie, and I think that's the source of pretty much all my problems. I of course don't have any problems with the story because it's the same thing as the original. So like it's a shame we have such a blemish of a problem for this movie, which is keep me from really loving it. Because as it stands, like I just enjoy the original more because it has that expressiveness that only a cartoon can provide, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's so many things I kind of like more in this movie. It's weird. Like Shinzi I love more. Not to get too ahead of myself, but I enjoyed Pumbaa more in this movie too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So while we're on it, like, what did you think of Pumbaa, Timon and Pumbaa?
I liked them.
Okay.
I didn't like them as much as I thought I would.
Okay.
I was going into this movie being like, Timon's gonna be my favorite character ever, because I just liked the idea. He seemed like Rocket Raccoon, but like Meerkat, which is like cuter. So I don't know. I did really like them too. Don't get me wrong. They're probably up there in my top characters.
They're probably my favorite characters.
Yeah.
So.
But I didn't like them quite as much as I thought they would. I thought they were gonna be like Timon and Pumbaa, Mufasa. But it's much closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I liked them. I thought they were super funny. I mean, Timon garnered definitely the largest laugh and reaction out of our audience at the theater. Mm-hmm. In the original, they make a luau dance song for Pumbaa. But in this one, they didn't do that. In this one, they sang "Be Our Guest,"
which I thought was perfect.
Yeah, I thought it made sense.
Because I mean, if you want to get into the live action Lion King and how it, can't express as much as a cartoon, for example, talk about the luau scene and putting that into live action. Impossible. That could never work. So they went in a different direction and had him do like a parody of Beauty and the Beast. I thought that was super funny. Like, yeah, that was great.
It definitely garnered the most reaction out of the entire crowd too.
Yeah, that
funny.
was probably the hardest. Everyone was laughing.
I felt like you'd get some chuckles every once in a while with the audience, but like that one, just everybody lit up. So
yeah,
it was fun.
I certainly did. I thought that was great. But speaking of Seth Rogen singing, he was not a good singer. No. I thought I enjoyed Seth Rogen more than the original voice actor in terms of Pumbaa just talking. I did not enjoy the singing whatsoever, except for the Baby Pumbaa part. I loved Baby Pumbaa.
Baby Pumbaa was pretty good.
Baby Pumbaa was adorable.
Yeah, Pumbaa wasn't the best singer, but Timon was beautiful.
Yeah, Timon was good.
Like when Timon first started singing, it was like jarring at first because it was like, whoa, dude, you're like the winner of American Idol or something. Like. Yeah, it was like distracting coming out of this little meerkat, but
yeah,
not that that was a bad thing. It was awesome, but yeah, distracting.
I meant to mention this while we were talking about Scar, but going back, what did you think of Be Prepared in this version?
Oh yeah, I did want to talk about this. I actually liked it.
Really? I wasn't a fan.
Okay, so I mean, if we're comparing it to the animated Be Prepared,
sure.
That one's much better.
Okay,
that's like one of my favorite villain songs of all time. It's
probably the best. Yeah.
But if you're not gonna do that one for one, which is weird that that's the one you chose not to do one for one.
Like
maybe it was because of the Nazi marching hyenas in the original. I don't know.
Yeah, like I was actually wondering that too, because before going into this movie, I heard that they took out Be Prepared. They just took it out. That's what I heard. And I remember being like, maybe it was because of the whole Nazi symbolism thing. But in this movie, they still had Be Prepared. It just was like less of a song.
Yeah.
They did kind of take out the Nazi symbolism. That wasn't really involved.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
no more like Nazi saluting.
Not that they had to like completely recreate that part
that
to
would
keep
have been
Be Prepared.
super funny though.
Yeah, that would have been crazy if they kept that part. But I actually did like it. Partly because I wasn't even expecting Be Prepared to be in the movie.
Yeah,
I had heard that it was gone. So like immediately when you get thrown into that area, all of a sudden the soundtrack for Be Prepared comes. So I was like, okay, so they're just gonna have this ambient sound of Be Prepared instead of like singing it.
Yeah,
which I was like, okay, I feel it. Like if they have to cut a number, they have to cut a number, right? Mm-hmm. But then yeah, Scar still sung it a little bit, which is much worse than the animated one, but
right.
I actually did like it. I liked like the mumbling or the echoing, I should say, of Be Prepared, like from the hyenas. So, like Scar would say Be Prepared, then the hyenas would say Be Prepared. So I liked it fine. Yeah, definitely not as good as the original. But...
Yeah, I wasn't as much of a fan of it because I mean, I don't know. To me, if you're gonna have, like, I guess what they did was fine, but at the same time, if you're gonna have "Be Prepared," like, probably the best Lion King song, like, in my opinion, like, you should have "Be Prepared." Like, you should put it in full force. Cut out the Nazi stuff, sure. we don't need that. I mean, I don't know, like. That's not super necessary.
Yeah.
We know Nazis are bad.
Exactly. So I wanted to talk about some of the voice actors too, because for me, the two that did an amazing job were Donald Glover and Beyonce.
Oh, okay.
I thought adult Simba, especially Donald Glover, I thought he sounded like Simba to me. I could tell he was Donald Glover, but it didn't bother me. Like, he just sounded like Simba. Like, I thought he was perfect casting. And Nala sounded a lot like the original Nala, too. Like, Beyonce did a good job of sounding like Nala. I mean, it's obviously their voices, but, like, it wasn't, like, jarring to me to, like, hear differently.
Yeah. And speaking of which, the song, Can You Feel the Love Tonight, like, I thought that was a super good cover, too, of Donald Glover and Beyonce singing that. I think Beyonce, I mean, not that Donald Glover did a bad job, but I think Beyonce carried it hard. Like, that sounds like I'm bashing Donald Glover. Like, he did a good job too, but like, Beyonce's just a really good singer, and that came out in that song, I felt like.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, but speaking of the songs, how did you like the music? Because that was something else I was looking really forward to. I heard that it was outstanding before going into this movie. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit. I mean, like I said, I even like Be Prepared, so I think most of them I liked quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see. Like Hakuna Matata was funny. Like, that one was good.
Yeah.
I mean, most of them are very similar to me. Like, the singing was good, different, but like the songs didn't have like too much of a rendition for them, aside from Be Prepared.
I gotcha. I think I enjoyed most of the original songs, but I didn't mind these. Like, none of these were offensive in any way. These new renditions of these songs. Yeah. But yeah, like I liked the music all right. It wasn't outstanding. Can You Feel the Love Tonight, I feel like, was a big outlier. I thought that was really well made. I didn't care for Just Can't Wait to Be King. I will say that. I feel like I Can't Wait to Be King was a lot better in the original. I don't. Do you agree?
Yeah, I like I said, I feel like they were kind of similar to me.
I gotcha.
I guess I didn't like hear a song and was like, no, I don't like this. They all sounded pretty good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I don't really have too much of an opinion on it.
Maybe all my times watching Filler Magic just got me super biased.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, well, to be honest, I can't even remember.
The original?
Can't Wait to Be King. No, the new one.
Okay.
I literally saw it like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
But,
I think that one, like that scene in particular, is very memorable for me in the original.
Yeah.
Just the animation and the style that they did in the original is like very unique, because the whole movie has this like tonal shift when that song starts playing in how it's animated.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it super unique and memorable, whereas this one didn't have that as much. What?
I liked how when they were singing that song, all the baby animals came out. Did you notice that?
Not really. Well, I guess I noticed, I noticed a couple. Yeah. That's cute. I didn't even think of that.
I remember the song. I just remember like Nala and Simba walking, and like all the baby antelopes and the anteaters or whatever.
I just noticed the cheetahs and the baby elephant.
Yeah, like the cheetahs.
I didn't notice any other babies.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked them. I thought that was like a neat little addition that was different than the other ones, because it's like, like the adults aren't gonna jive in with this kid's little dream, you know what I mean? But all the babies might,
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even think of that. That's kind of, I didn't even notice. What did you think about Zazu?
he was probably the worst part for me.
I like Zazu a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean I didn't hate him. I just wasn't in love with him. I thought the second half I liked him more, but like the first half he was okay. Like he was just Zazu. I don't like Zazu very much in the original either.
I'm not a huge fan of the original Zazu either. So maybe that's why I liked him.
Maybe I don't know. He was just kind of the same for me. So.
Yeah. As far as like, I feel like we're focusing a lot on like characters, but like as far as like things like the humor, like did you think the movie as a whole was really funny? Did you think it was funnier than the original? Like, because I know a lot of the changes in this movie from the original were in the form of jokes. Like they changed like they got rid of Mr. Pig and he changed it to calling Pumbaa chubby. Like things like that. Like there's a lot of just like slight changes in lines and jokes that made it a little different,
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I thought it was funnier necessarily, but because like a lot of the changes were like slight variations. I like that Pumbaa called them out for being bullies. That was funny. Like,
I like that too.
I might run from hyenas, but I'll never run from you bullies or whatever.
Yeah, I love that. Pumbaa in this movie because of like lines like that. I feel like didn't Seth Rogen and what was the other actor's name for Timon? 'Cause I don't even know. I just knew Seth Rogen.
Oh, can't remember.
Yeah, well, I heard the two actors had a lot of ad-libbing for this movie.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I feel like ad-libbing such a new thing. Like everybody's doing it now.
Yeah.
Just like Ducky and Bunny in Toy Story 4, they had a lot of ad-libbing too.
I believe that. They seem like they're doing their own thing half the time.
Yeah. Let me see. Who's the actor for Timon? Oh my gosh, get out of here.
I just felt I got that vibe too. So like I thought it was I feel like that provided a lot of, different lines for the movie as well. Like I think them ad-libbing, gave a lot to this new Lion King,
Yeah. I think they were good. Billy Eichner is Timon, which I don't know him. So
okay, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I know him either. I feel like I should. That sounds familiar, but maybe it just sounds familiar because of this movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I suppose we what's up?
I got one. The Mufasa sky scene.
Oh,
what was your opinion on it?
Hated it.
You hated it?
No,
okay.
I mean, well, it's tough because I don't think they could do that scene well. Making in this realistic looking movie, making a cloud of, Mufasa's face in clouds. So like, I feel like that was probably the best way they could do it, but like, I didn't like it. The original just was like, it just made me think about how much I like the original, how they did it more, like this one. I don't know. I feel like there's no good way to do it in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of had the same opinion. I didn't hate it, but like it's definitely, they tried to make it as realistic as possible with something that's not realistic at all.
Yeah.
So definitely the animated one brought more of that emotion, but I did think it was cool and they did a good job with what they had to work with. But yeah, I wish you saw more of Mufasa. It was like definitely just like lightning and then you'd see like a little glimpse of him. I wish like the lightning stayed there for a second or something, like because I felt like it was just like boom, it was done. Like I saw his snout like once.
Yeah, because I remember watching and being like, just like, I think that was his face. Like every time I would just be watching intently at the screen, like where's his face? A lightning would strike for like a quarter of a second, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't see it. Like I blinked.
Yeah. No, exactly, and that's like that might be my favorite scene in like all Disney movies.
Really,
I love that scene.
That is a good scene.
Yeah, I love James Earl Jones' voice in it, and like I don't know, I just think it's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of which, only returning voice actor James Earl Jones.
No, really?
Yeah. I don't think there's another voice actor reprising their role. I
guess not.
Yeah, which good move. that I can't imagine the like outrage. Like we got a little bit of outrage with Will Smith replacing Robin Williams as a genie, but Robin Williams was like, you know, dead. So like,
Yeah.
like it's not like they could have gotten him again. In this case, like, you know,
I
James
would
Earl
have been
Jones.
sad.
What?
I would have been sad
You would have been sad
if it wasn't James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, that's what I was like.
Yeah.
Meaning like there would have been a crazy outrage if they replaced James Earl Jones, even though he's still around and kicking. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh man, people would be so mad.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine Mufasa as anybody else.
Yeah,
Like, it's so.
I mean, people say
it's
the
hard to
same
even
thing about
picture.
Genie though. You know, and
Yeah.
they proceeded to make a Will Smith. A
I mean,
Genie.
same with Mary Poppins too. Like,
yeah. I mean, it just goes to show what Disney will do for money.
yeah.
Like,
To be honest, I mean, I liked Will Smith as Genie, and I liked Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins. So maybe like roles aren't as sacred as we imagine them to be. You know,
I
like,
don't know, man, because I don't know much about Mary Poppins, but there's still a lot of people that will, you know, they'll go to that Aladdin movie and say like they shouldn't have made it because of Genie. Like,
yeah, but those people need to chill.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. Like I'm kind of playing devil's advocate because that doesn't bother me nearly as much as other people. But like, there's a lot of people that, you know, straight up wouldn't go to see Aladdin because it wasn't Robin Williams. There's people that straight up say the movie was bad because it wasn't Robin Williams. So like, I feel like it'd be the same thing with James Earl Jones. And like, I can't imagine anyone else taking that role. If they were gonna, I feel like that would even be a harder role to replace, you know? Because at least with Genie, they had the benefit of doing a completely different type of Genie, you know? You can't make a completely different type of Mufasa. Like, Mufasa being big, imposing, and, you know, deep voice, that is his character, practically.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you can't make a different type of Mufasa.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I agree.
Yeah.
Like, that'd be pretty hard. I can't picture him as anybody else, so.
Although it would be kind of fun to watch a Lion King movie having Will Smith star as Mufasa.
Yeah.
There we go.
I mean, I would have never guessed Will Smith as the genie.
Yeah,
until
no
that
one
happened.
would.
So, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It happens. Life goes on, whether you like the new castings or not. But
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad we got James Earl Jones back. For this
Yeah.
one.
oh, speaking of which, did you notice like the music that played when Mufasa showed up was introduced in the movie?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought it was super funny. Well, like when Mufasa was introduced in the movie, like they just had like this orchestrated piece just like rise up, you know, as he was being introduced. And obviously that wasn't in the original. He's just another character. But
Wait,
I feel
what scene?
when Mufasa was very first introduced, or not very
okay.
first, but when he speaks for the first time,
Sure.
like
Interesting.
after the Simba, you know,
Yeah.
circle life scene,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
after that, and he's talking to Scar. Like I feel like the camera, you know, pans up to Mufasa. He starts speaking, and you just hear this like uplifting music. I feel like they're like, hey guys, check it out, James Earl Jones is back.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
If you next time you see the movie, like pay attention to the music that like plays when Mufasa starts speaking for the very first time. Like it's kind of a like small thing. I don't have a problem with it. I just thought it was funny how like they made it like this big deal that James Earl Jones is back for this role.
Yeah.
At least that's how I interpreted the scene, because that music didn't play like in the original because he's just another character. But in this movie, they got the guy back for this role.
Yeah.
So
No,
they're
for
making a
sure.
big deal about it with the music.
Yeah. Live it up.
Yeah.
James Earl Jones is great, so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
I mean, like we said, the movie's pretty much The Lion King. There wasn't
Yeah.
a ton different, aside from a couple lines. But yeah, I don't know. What grading out of 10? 10 being the best.
Probably 7.
Yeah.
Like it sucks because like I said earlier, like the whole animals' faces not matching the voices thing drops it like 2 points. Because if they're, I mean, there's literally no way they could perfect that, because the original just had this expressiveness that only a cartoon could manage to copy, and this isn't a cartoon. I mean, it kind of is, but not the right kind of cartoon.
So I don't know. I said to you before the movie, I'm like, I'm feeling like a 7 out of 10 for this movie. It's kind of there still. I think I'm gonna give it like a 7.5.
Okay.
Just because it did like make it like bettered my expectations when I was going into this movie. And for those of you that like will watch the first episode of this podcast, I was like really high on this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was either the first one or the pre-show test we did for this podcast. But I was like super excited for this movie. Like really excited about it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, all of a sudden like my excitement started dwindling a little bit. But it was still kind of high for certain parts of it. But I don't know. I think it was like a 7.5 for me. Like the definitely the emotion of the characters were definitely what throws it down a lot for me. It was distracting.
Yeah.
The second half of the movie, I felt like I got like used to it, right? So it didn't bother me as much for the second half. But for the first half, it was super distracting.
It bothered me nearly the entire time. At least it's when, especially when characters started singing. I think by the last act, I probably kind of got over it. Not really got over it, but kind of, was just overlooking it. But basically the entire movie, it was kind of a distraction for me. I mean, you can have the world's prettiest person in the world, but if they have a giant zit on the front of their nose, like, it's going to be kind of distracting.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
the scenes made me emotional. The scenes made me happy.
Yeah,
so it's
it
like
was
hard.
The same movie. You know, like I think it hit all the right notes in terms of story and songs and things like that. And then even then some, because of the additional scenes and certain changes that I thought improved over last movie's lines. But it's just that one thing where it's just distracting, drops it like 2 points. I feel like it's just not since they made this movie frame for frame a remake, it becomes distracting when they get to scenes that were clearly kind of meant to be a cartoon, but it's not. So they can't provide that look that a cartoon can give you.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But yeah, like with that said, like before the movie, I was expecting a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. But the movie just had so much extra stuff and sometimes even better lines that it bumped it up to a 7 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because like we're talking about it, and I feel like pretty much everything we talked about was like how good the movie was. But I mean, obviously, it's just a remake of The Lion King, so it's going to be good. Yeah. But we're still like 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. Like, it's still not the greatest rating, but it's just, I don't know. The voice acting just didn't match sometimes, and it was mad distracting for me. So
yeah. Would you recommend people to go see this movie?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's interesting at the very least. It's a good looking movie. You hit all the same emotions as The Lion King. At least I did. Like I said, I teared up during certain parts of it. You just have to get through the voice acting not necessarily matching the facial expressions of the characters.
Right. Yeah. Not that this is really reaching the right audience because it's a spoiler review. But yeah, I don't even know. I don't know if I could recommend the movie to, an average moviegoer. Like I'd recommend it to people that love Disney and stuff like that.
Personally, I would be like, I liked Aladdin more, so I'd say go see Aladdin. But you didn't like Aladdin, no. So it's the live action movies are just like harder to.
It really depends on what you want in a live action movie. Yeah. Like I was saying, like at the beginning of this episode, there's like 3 different like remakes you can make. You can make the frame by frame Lion King. You can make a a new movie that completely changes the story and tone, Maleficent.
Yeah.
Or you can make a movie that, is the same, but they took their own creative liberties, like Aladdin.
Yeah.
And I personally like the third one, where it's the same story, but they changed a lot of things to make it their own. Unfortunately, Aladdin just made all the wrong choices.
So did
in
you
my opinion.
like Beauty and the Beast?
I personally love Beauty and the Beast, but I know that one is kind of hated by a lot of people.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella.
I love Cinderella. Cinderella is my favorite live action Disney movie. Like, I think that one was the best.
Yeah, I think Aladdin's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hate Cinderella, don't you?
Yeah, I hate Cinderella.
Yeah. So
I just don't think I like the Cinderella story.
It really comes down to, and I don't either. Like, I hate the original Cinderella, but this one made it better.
Yeah.
So like, it really just comes down to the choices that they make and whether or not you like them. I think if you're making a remake,
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and Lion King didn't really have any different choices. It was pretty much the same movie aside from a couple of lines that really don't affect the story a whole lot. I think the biggest change might be the hyenas and how they are more of a different country as opposed to just like the gang on the outskirts of your land.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you really love Lion King though, you'll enjoy this movie because it's Lion King. It's not offensive. It's a very inoffensive movie. Whereas if you love Aladdin, who's to say if you'll love the remake?
True.
Because it has so many different things going for it.
Yeah.
Different choices. I mean, so.
Yeah.
Whereas Lion King is so safe. Like, it was a good movie, but that's because it was safe. It was a remake of already existing good movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the AMC A-list or like Movie Pass or one of those weird movie subscription things, go see it. Like, it's not gonna hurt you. It's fun to go see. But if you're paying like a full ticket, like I think we had the dine-in one that was like $17 for the ticket, but we had A-list, so it didn't matter.
We just pay a monthly subscription, so we could.
Yeah, so if you have like
we want.
Yeah, if you have one of those programs, just go see it. If you have time.
Yeah, like I said, not reaching the right audience.
Yeah,
but
I guess
I would recommend. I think it's a good rental for like the average moviegoer. I don't think you need to see this movie in theaters.
Yeah,
personally,
but it's fair.
But it was good. We keep going back to
Lion King.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're kind of rambling now, but
yeah, we better end it now.
Yeah,
this will be like our shortest episode.
I think so. I maybe that's why we're rambling.
We're up to 50 minutes about.
We usually make it over the hour though.
Yeah,
kind of a bummer.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and as always, Kwaherini.